Welcome back, everybody, to another weekend reaction podcast by yours truly. I'm Gary, joined as always by Alex. Alex, how are you doing?
Hungover as fuck.
Good to know. Good to know. We're grinding it out on a bank holiday Monday. Hope everyone's had a very good weekend. If you're new here, subscribe, give us a like. That will do us an absolute solid. Give us a like because, yeah, Alex is absolutely hungover as Tottenham are in the nosebleeds in terms of the table. But what's coming up on today's episode? We've got biggest winners and losers of the weekend as usual. To my absolute dismay, we are talking City versus Arsenal, and we're talking Liverpool versus Chelsea, Mikel Arteta, and of course, who wins goal of the week. But let's get straight into it then. Winners and losers of the weekend. How would you like to start? Would you like to start winners or would you like to start losers, Alex?
I always go when you got a choice between good or bad news first. I always go bad news first. So I'm gonna follow.
Okay.
I'm gonna follow suit with that, and so let's do our losers first.
Wow. Okay. Loser. You go first. Absolutely, you go first. Loser of the weekend.
So it's probably it's actually the one that you've had the last few weeks, and I hope you haven't got the same because we should mix it up a little bit. But it's getting to the point now where it's becoming that's three losses in three. So for my one, I think it's Arsenal as a whole. Um,
Yeah, I didn't pick them because I didn't want to sound like a broken record. But I'm glad you did because I still feel like the frustration needs to come out. But go on, give your reasons.
So it's a mixture of things. I think one, the transfer business. I think on the whole, is like you spent a lot of money, but you don't know like how much that squad has actually improved. I'm not, and it's one of them where the players that you've signed they might come good in a few years, but they don't feel like it's going to immediately improve your team. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, none of them actually played the games other than Erdegaard. But I see where you mean. It's just a bit
Like
unfortunate.
it's I feel like none of them like kind of immediate like kind of improvements for the first team. I feel like you're also losers in you've been quite unfortunate with injuries. You have got was it like kind of 7 to 8 players off the pitch. And don't get me wrong, like I'm a Tottenham fan, I'm going to be the first to dive
Don't
in
laugh.
and throw Arsenal under the bus and laugh. Of course I am, but at the same time, me and Gary always say we've got to remain unbiased with these things, and we've got to take into account that they do have a few injuries. They did finish last season very strongly.
No.
So it's not as if it's been a calamitous throughout the last few years. They do have the potential for good form, and I do think they've been impacted by these injuries. But I think at the same time, the defending has been comical to say the least. So I think, after the thrashing of West Brom, you would have hoped maybe they showed a bit more, a bit more fight against Manchester City. But if for the first 2 goals before Xhaka got sent off, City were kind of like in second, third gear and just like kind of breezing through that Arsenal defence. So I think
Oh.
a bit of Arteta, a bit of like bad luck, a bit of like kind of Arsenal, Kroenke, all of them, just Arsenal in general for me, I think are blue. And I don't think it's a nice situation for Arsenal. I think this is the first time it's ever happened where Arsenal are bottom of the table and Tottenham are top. Now, I don't think either club are going to finish there, but it's still
No,
not
of
nice
course
reading.
not. No, of
But
course
I am
not.
enjoying how much I have to scroll to now look at Arsenal at the table. It takes me a little while.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to look past Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. 20th, rock bottom of the Premier League, 9 goals conceded, no goals scored. But the manner in which they performed in those 3 games, I think, is why Arsenal are in the crisis they are, and probably deservedly should be loser of the week for the last 3 weeks. But this is it's a accumulation of L's for Arsenal, I feel, and on top of that, you give Granit Xhaka a new contract. What does he do? He flies in two-footed and gets sent off, and really compounds the misery of Arsenal. But for me, I was struggling between Arsenal and Mike Dean and VAR. I don't want to bring up that three-letter word up again, but it's painful to see because it's just not consistent throughout the league. And Man United versus Wolves. Before I even get to the Paul Pogba challenge,
Actually, can I make a suggestion here, Gary? We park that because I think we're gonna. I think we said we're probably gonna end up talking about the Xhaka red card anyway when we talk about Manchester City Arsenal. I think it'd be good that after we've like kind of analysed the Xhaka red card, if we then compare it to them. So if we save that for later on. We do direct
Oh,
comparison.
what? So I can't have a loser of the week now.
Yeah, but I think everyone will probably agree with you anyway. But we'll
Okay,
save the
fine.
rationale for later.
Before we talk about the Paul Pogba thing later
Mm.
on, I will. Can I mention this? What on earth happened to the challenge on Trincao by Dan James? Like
Is
no one
that
even reacted to that foul, which
is
is
that the
I
one
just
where he's like he's ran into like he's almost gone for a corner or goal kick? He's like in line with the 6 yard box, and
yeah. So
and he's crossed it, and then the player's taken him out.
yeah. So I'll give you the scenario. Trincao is running in one on goal. Shoots the ball. Ball goes. He's going in. Aaron Wan-Bissaka does amazing, clears the ball off the line. It allows him to get the sort of the deflection and cross it back across the penalty box, and he gets totally wiped out by Dan James, and no one reacts to it. And it's just a total wipeout. It's a foul and it's a penalty, and Mike Dean misses it. VAR they don't say anything. I just thought that was crazy that none of that got picked up, and really sort of punished Wolves unfairly throughout that game. So my loser of the weekend is Mike Dean and VAR. We'll get towards the Paul Pogba incident later on.
And can I just say, Mike Dean was almost my winner of the week because he won what I consider he won the most. Because here's my problem with Mike Dean, right? The joke always with Mike Dean is that he wants to take the center of attention. Right, that's constantly the thing people say about him. And it's one of them where everyone jokes about it and everyone says it, but deep down they're really hoping that can't be true. Because imagine there is actually official that's sitting there thinking, I'm going to grab the headlines today. That'd be absolutely it'd be absolutely terrible for the game. But things happen so often, and it always seems to be Mike Dean, where there's a situation where there's headlines going off and it's not about him. He somehow manages to divert the all of that attention towards him, and he does it time and time again. And now I'm not so sure. Maybe I know we all joke about maybe he really does love that attention, and he's trying to get it.
Of course, he loves that attention. That's why everyone in the country despises that man. I mean, he's only the only thing that he can do next is dance whilst he gives people yellow cards and red cards. But I wouldn't put it past him. Biggest winner of the weekend, then, Alex. You go first.
My one is a funny one. It's Watford's administration team.
Right.
I'll give you the background to this because this is quite funny. So, as you would have seen, Watford signed Musa Sissoko from Tottenham
Hmm.
before they played. And whenever a transfer like that happens, whenever you're signing a player before and you're due to play that team, like within the next few weeks, they always try to stop that player from actually like being registered in time. And the reason they want to do that is because they don't want the player, if he's got any inside information on how like kind of Watford or how Tottenham are planning to deal with Watford, he might like kind of divulge that information. So that's why usually when the situations crops up where players being sold to a team and they're going to play them very soon, they try to stop that being able to happen. So essentially, Tottenham felt like they did enough they delayed it long enough where Watford weren't able to register them. But Watford were actually quite cheeky. I think what they did is they loaded the paperwork early before the deal was actually done, and so then he was able to be registered for that game. So apparently, when he was actually announced that he was starting for Watford, and obviously all the Tottenham fans were worried that he was going to score like kind of a 90-minute 30-yarder, just because that's what happens in football, right? But apparently all the Tottenham staff, were like kind of very confused at how he managed to get on there. But I think Watford pulled one over on Daniel Levy and co, which is quite a rare thing. So I think that's quite funny that happened. So Watford's admin team get a thumbs up.
Well, I mean, it didn't result in a win, but I mean, like that's nice nonetheless. For me, I've got Everton as the overall winner of the weekend. That makes it for them. It makes it 7 points in 9 games, which is a fantastic start to the league campaign. They hadn't won at the Amex Stadium. Brighton won their first 2 games, so they were absolutely full of confidence. I felt, but Everton led with Damari Gray, and great goal shows how valuable a player with paces and just running at the Brighton defense, which they looked absolutely scared running backwards in panic, and he had Dominic Calvert-Lewin who dispatched the penalty as well. So 7 goals so far. I think like Everton might have been Everton fans might have been a bit scared that Benitez will come in and play some, defensive football. He loves the tactics. He doesn't mind playing and sitting back. But no, and him being a former Liverpool fan, manager, it's gone pretty darn well for Everton so far. So 7 points out of 9, good win against Brighton. I think they're rightfully deservers of winner of the weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a good shout. And you may remember, I think a few weeks ago, I said to you weirdly, Benitez, if you ignore his massive Liverpool history, which he does have, but there's something weird where he just feels like he fits a club like Everton really well. It's one of them where I just can't explain it, but at the moment it seems to be coming true, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's a talented manager. He almost feels like he's amenable to every club. Like every club he's been to, he's done really well, or he's done like as expected or beyond. He had stints at Newcastle.
I was going to say within his means, I think is probably the best phrase you can put out.
Yeah, within his means. Newcastle, done it at Chelsea as well, and obviously had like a great stint with Liverpool as well. So the pressure was on him, but he's delivering. And Everton fans, I feel like they're more than happy with the start that they have in the Premier League in 3 games. Another runner-up for me is Conor Gallagher. I feel like he got a brace against West Ham. Really thwarted West Ham. He's on loan from Chelsea, so that would have been amazing for him. Score twice against West Ham. Split the points, get a point for Crystal Palace, and he's matched his tally that he's had last season with West Brom with 2 goals so far. So like he would be absolutely chuffed. So well done to him.
Yeah, I think that's a really good shout. Should we move on to the games?
Yes, let's move on to the games. And the first game up is Liverpool versus Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, they were in a great position. Mm-hmm. Liverpool created the better chances, but they went 1-0 up with a amazing goal by Havertz. Sometimes I think obviously he meant to do it, but it may be a bit. Would you say that goal was a bit luck? No, I mean I got to give benefit to doubt to Kai Havertz.
Do you know what I like about it? It's probably one of them where 9 times out of 10, or even 99 times out of 100, the player would never he'd be like, "Oh yeah, I'm in it anyway." That never.
That's a real difficult way. It's just one of those you try and get under the ball and you just hope that it goes in. Mm-hmm. But it's a fantastic goal. Good position to get into at halftime. Just defend that corner and you can get in at 1-0. They don't defend the corner, and it all turns into a bit of a scramble right at the penalty box. Mane does really well to get in ahead of Kai Havertz, and the ball hits Reece James's knee and onto his arm. Contentious. Do you think it was a red card? Do you think the double punishment is too severe as well?
So my quick answer is I do think it's a red card, but let me explain it. A few things first of all. I think VAR make a really big mistake by looking at everything in slow motion. So I think you need to look at it in both. I feel like you need to look at it in real motion first so you can get context of the situation. And then
But how do you know that they're not looking at it in real time?
Oh, that's right. It's not even on. It's not. They don't even show it.
They just show you the slow motion.
Do you know what? They're not. Well, I would hope then. It's a very good point. No, I would hope then that they do watch it first of all, so they can get context of the situation. Because the thing is, everything happens so fast in that. It is a really, really, really quick situation, and then when you slow it down, that's when it looks worse for Reece James. But it's the slow motion which actually makes me think that he should be sent off. And don't get me wrong, I think my own decision is harsh for him. But let me explain why I think that. So the ball hits his thigh, as you pointed out. It then jumps up and hits him on the arm. At that point, I wouldn't have given a penalty or a red card because I think he's not made his body too bigger and he's got no chance to get his body out of the way. The only thing I would say is, maybe he should try and tuck his arms a bit more. But the thing is, the ball was going pinball, right? It's such a difficult situation. You're not going to be thinking about get your arms out of the way. You're just going to be thinking, where is the ball? Where should I be? I think the problem for him, so when it jumps up and hits his right arm, his right arm kind of comes in a little bit. And it looks like, and I don't know if it's, I've done it, because when you watch it in real time, I don't know if he's just like kind of, if it's just like kind of instinct and he's not meant it. But when you watch it in slow motion, it looks a lot worse. But it looks like as the ball hit his arm, he's moved his arm to the ball. And I feel like as soon as he's done that, that's where it's a red card. And I think, as per the rules, it's a penalty as well. And I think that's what probably the referees have seen to give that decision. Because if the ball had hit his thigh and hit his arm and gone away, then fine, I would have been happy for that not to be given. But you know what? It's that movement. As soon as that ball's hit his arm, he's moved his arm in and towards the ball. I feel like as soon as he's done that, you're asking for it at that point. And I don't even know if he's meant it, because it's happened so quickly. As I say, it could have just been instinct. But I think for me, I know it's harsh, but I think it's probably the correct decision.
Yeah, for me, there's no doubt in my mind that it's a red card. I mean, intention or not, I think if you deny like a goal, basically a goal, with the use of your arms, like it's going to be a penalty, right? And because if you deny a goal with your arm, like by the letter of the law, has to be a red card. Whether or not that punishment is too much, I think sometimes the punishment is too much. You get a penalty and a red card. Like, can you trade it off and say you get the goal and then you get a yellow card, right?
Well, sometimes they have the double jeopardy rule, right, where they say that you can't do both. Like if it's a foul, like last man, but that doesn't seem to
They
apply.
never implemented that. But
Did they not?
like you said, like I think the fact that the ball hit his arm and then he moved his arm outwards towards it kind of shows that he's kind of trying to scoop the ball out away from the goal, and that's the final bit of incriminating evidence for me for a red card. So for me, yep, I think it's a red card. I don't think, based on the rules of the game, Chelsea fans can argue too much of it. Of course, it wasn't intentional at all, but yeah, that really changed the game for the second half against Liverpool at Anfield. A lot has been made of, Chelsea's attacking prowess this season, but I think with that performance in the second half, does that remind everyone of Chelsea's defensive capabilities? 10 men playing for a whole half against Liverpool at Anfield. Like, it's an impressive display of how organized they can be defensively for a potential title challenge. How did you see it?
So I don't think people forgot how good Chelsea are defensively. I think it's just a case of, so if you remember last season, they had the second best defense in the Premier League, right? They were really strong defensively, and the thing that pundits and fans were constantly saying is all they were missing was a striker. Now, if I were to ask you off the top of your head, name the first player that Chelsea have signed, you would say
Lukaku, of course.
As every single other fan is. And the thing is, the whole Lukaku situation and the fact that he's come in and he's just hit the ground running, that's taken all the headlines. So I feel like that the attention hasn't been on the fact that how good Chelsea are defensively. I think the attention has been going like kind of to like the fact that they're now attacking. But I don't think people have forgot how good they are defensively.
I don't know, but it's not only that. You got Havertz, you got Werner, you've got Ziyech, you've got Pulisic, but like big money, like big money. They haven't invested as much in their defense. Obviously, they got Thiago Silva, but they haven't invested as much. So that's why I thought it was quite impressive how well their defense performed.
Well, for me, no, because it was as impressive. Like it was impressive last season, and they haven't made it weaker. I mean, they sold Zuma, but he wasn't like kind of he played well sometimes last season, but I think he has a set like kind of a back line which he's quite happy to play, and they perform really well defensively. I do see where you're coming from. I do think maybe it's gone under the radar a little bit, but I think that's only because all the headlines around Chelsea have been about Lukaku, right? And like kind of what he brings to their already quite decent attack. So I think maybe under the radar is what I would call it. But I think, as you said, probably a very good reminder that Chelsea are a very good team defensively.
Yeah, bit dangerous. I mean, I totally understand 10 men. You have to absolutely park the bus, and that's understandable away at Anfield. And I like how Tuchel is like he's got his players very organized. Played a 5-3-1 in that second half, and was like 100% amenable with his tactics depending on the situation. So, yeah, I was quite impressed watching that game. As for Liverpool, it was quite a frustrating afternoon. Having got the goal just before half time, you really thought that they could, push on with a man advantage, but they just lacked the firepower in the end. They really resorted to long shots. They didn't really create a lot of chances. Their intensity kind of dropped in the second half. Um, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Minamino overlooked. Origi didn't even make the matchday squad to add anything to the second half. Do you think Liverpool lack the firepower to push properly for the title challenge?
No, no. I think the thing Liverpool lack at the moment. So if you remember the season where Klopp won the Premier League with Liverpool, right? Where he would play the same starting 11, right? It was only when he had injuries that he would like actually tinker with that. Like he very much tried to keep that same starting 11. And everyone like I know because it was Alisson, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, Gomez, Robertson, and you had Henderson, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum, and then you had Mane, Firmino, and Salah. And do you know what I mean? And wherever he could, he would always start that starting 11.
Yeah, but they were fit the entire season.
No,
Right?
exactly. Yeah, well, no, they did have a few injuries.
Daniel
If you
Henderson, that was injured a bit.
Henderson got injured for a bit. The front three that they didn't suffer a lot of injuries. I think Alisson got injured for a bit, but whatever he could. So I feel like with Klopp, he tries to have like kind of that same starting 11. So I feel like with Liverpool at the moment, I feel like with their starting 11, I feel like they're just trying to get them like kind of up to speed, and I feel like he has the players there. But I feel like he's still tweaking it to get it to a more optimum level. Because you have to remember, you have Van Dijk, who's coming back, and he looks really good, but he hasn't played football in over a year. So you still need to give him, a little while to kind of get back to like kind of being at the top of his game. You have Joe Gomez to come back. And I think as well, they're still working out like kind of how it works with the current midfield three, especially with kind of Harvey Elliott coming through, and like kind of what sort of role he's going to play. So I feel like with the starting 11, I feel like he's tweaking that, but I feel like he's very close to being at a level where they can challenge. So for me, I do think they have enough firepower, and you have to remember they do have quite a strong bench. They have Jota to come on, they have Thiago.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, but so I'm going to take you back to the 2019-20 the season where they won it again, right? If you remember, they had Lallana, Shaqiri on the bench. They had, I think, Keita was on the bench for them as well. So it's not like kind of superstars on the bench like say you get with Manchester City. But I don't think Klopp needs that. I feel like he has a good enough bench and he's able to like twist it a little bit. I feel like the main thing Klopp needs to do is get the starting 11, which he feels best, firing on all pistons. And I feel like he's just not there yet. But he's close. I feel like he's close.
Well, that's the thing. Like since that title winning season, a lot of other squads have just gotten much better. Just gotten much better in terms of their squad depth, and Liverpool haven't. And that's, I think, one of the main issues that they have. If they can have like an amazing season like they did, where they won the league, everyone pretty much played every single game, then that's ideal. But I mean, in a Premier League campaign, players are older. It's not necessarily going to happen again. You just might be really unlucky. So I think they have more of a shortfall in quality once you get past the first 13 players compared to Manchester City, Chelsea, and Man United. So that's where I'm going. That's why I think they need to go invest heavily in the market in this last day. But do you think they will do anything in the transfer market?
I don't think so. So just to take on board
because Sadio Mane and Mo Salah, they're going to the African Cup of Nations.
That's a good point. So I take on board what you're saying, right? Where if you look at the teams around them, they have a lot more strength in depth. And I suppose Liverpool are a little bit backing themselves, like kind of to hopefully not get injured as much. Maybe like rotate a little bit and try
Yeah,
to
good
get the
luck with
same
that.
what they got in their title winning season. So maybe Liverpool are a little bit hedging their bets with that. They can keep the starting 11 like kind of fit throughout the majority of the season. Bar a few injuries, because let's be honest, every team is going to go through some injuries to their starting 11. So I do take that on board. I do think there are teams around them with a much stronger bench. But do I think they will sign someone? I don't think so. And certainly not an attacker. Because I think
There's not been a lot of transfer rumors when it comes to Liverpool at the moment. It's been very, very hush hush. So
I think the
will they
last
do a trolley dash? I don't think so.
the last transfer rumour I saw was Sarr of Watford. And I think that's the type of player they're going to get. Because they're not going to be able to spend big money on a forward. Because what can Liverpool offer them? So if you're going after a top quality player and you're saying, okay, so we've got Firmino, Mane, Salah, Jota,
That's about it.
Minamao, Origi,
Origi.
right? You're saying you're going to be competing with all of them for a place, and they're not going to bring them in just for like kind of the Africa Cup of Nations. You know what I mean? They're like some weird maternity leave while they're kind of like while they're off like kind
Well,
of
I
playing for
mean,
their
why not?
country.
If they're serious about the title, you can say that Origi is probably going to get a transfer out. Minamino might get another loan out, which gives them space to invest in their forward line again. Like everyone thought, the Jota transfer was a bit weird, but look at how much punch that he's given to the Liverpool attacking and offense throughout
No,
last season.
no, I agree with that, but what I'm saying is, if so, let's say they get rid of all the other players other than Jota, Salah, Mane, and Firmino, right? You're still saying you're going to be fifth in line. How many like kind of good quality players are going to willing to be fifth in line, like kind of to try and fight their way into what two of the best attackers in the Premier League? And Firmino's up there, and he does his own role like off of Salah and Mane, so you wouldn't want to miss that. And Jota, as you say, he brings so much firepower to Liverpool. How many quality players are willing to like kind of fight out between those four? I don't think there'd be a lot.
Yeah, no, I agree. Even though I didn't hear any of what you said in the last 20 seconds because my Wi-Fi went absolutely bonkers.
You styled it out. You styled it. Basically, I don't think a quality player is going to want to sit on the bench and fight out with some of the top strikers in the Premier League. Like, they're going to have to get either a younger player like Sarr. I think Sarr's a brilliant sign for Liverpool if
Yeah,
they
yeah,
do go.
exactly. That's
But it'd
that's
have to
that's
be.
my that's
Mm,
my point. Can they identify a young player with quality, with upside to come in and compete against these boys? Because eventually they will have to look to the future and replace Mane and Salah. So why can't they augment their squad whilst going for a title challenge? Because Liverpool squad and starting 11 is in win now mode right now. So I don't know. That's just my opinion. It's going to be difficult. Transfer deadline is a different beast. If they haven't got deals lined up already over the last couple of days, then nothing's going to happen. But hopefully they can get something because I think it'll be better for the league if you have like four teams competing for the Premier League title right till the end.
mm.
On to the fire. It's next game. Next game, not the final game. The next game, Manchester City versus Arsenal. Jesus Christ, I do not want to talk about this game at all. Let's quickly talk about Manchester City. 5-0 win.
Mm.
Well and truly back into the swing of things. Although I bet every City fan watching that might have seen, Arsenal are a big team, but I kind of felt like they were dispatching like a team like Norwich. Man City looked good again, though. Do you think a front three of Grealish, plus others, Torres and Jesus is good enough to challenge for the title? And should all other teams be scared this doesn't include Foden or De Bruyne for now?
Well, I didn't think about that.
Exactly.
uh, I think Pep has probably found. Do
He's
you
a
think
tinker
that
man. He's the
it?
elite tinker man. Sorry.
Oh, whoa! That is disrespect. You know where I'll go with that. It's disrespectful to Ranieri.
Yeah, I do.
I I don't think City are going to sign a striker now. Do you?
No, I
So
don't think that they've scouted about, saw the lay of the land, and probably thought it's probably not an optimal solution, they can probably just use Ferran Torres or Jesus as a backup.
I think now. Don't get me wrong, because I know Pep will probably change it. Because as you say, he is a bit of a tinker man, and he's got so many like kind of brilliant options. Because at the moment you have got Jesus being on the right, but he's got Mahrez if he wants to bring him in, and then you've got Grealish on the left, and he's got Sterling who can go over there, or Foden when he returns from fitness. But I think Pep has found a solution to like kind of his striker situation by playing both Torres and Jesus together. I feel like them two together, they kind of do enough of the kind of striker jobs to kind of, rather than like they split out between them, I feel, rather than having like kind of a one like kind of central number nine. And I feel like it seems to be working quite scarily well.
Yeah, I mean, they just find a way. I don't understand. It's quite scary because you're like, okay, how many rolls of the dice do they have up front? But just Ferran Torres, he looks on form, and he's just taking advantage of all the spaces that the other players create for him.
I think it, and as you touched on with Foden and De Bruyne, that is quite a scary situation because I don't know how, I don't know I don't know what the full strength starting lineup is going to look like. It's quite scary because
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned Gundogan, like as a late runner into the box, which he showed that his capability of doing that. What, in the middle of last season, we went on a crazy run. They still have that up their sleeve.
Yeah, it's true. I think, but to be honest with you, if you have a choice, like, and I mean this in no disrespect to Gundogan, but if you have a choice between him or De Bruyne, you're going to pick De Bruyne. It's just, the ability that bloke has is absolutely ridiculous. It's quite scary to think, what their full strength side will be, and what they're, you were talking about Liverpool earlier, and they're like kind of them having an average bench, whereas, City's bench is going to be like at one point it's going to be Mahrez, probably Gundogan, Sterling, Foden. This is all on a bench. Most other teams be happy to have these starting from.
The £1 billion squad, yeah, pretty scary indeed. They look well up for it, to retain their title, but Arsenal. We're looking at the other end of the table now. Another woeful.
Do you know what's quite funny? For you guys,
funny.
Oh, hang on, no, hear me out, right? Actually, there's two things that's going to be funny. Well, one for everyone else, but one for you. Is what we do is we agree what teams we're going to do, right? And we go off and research it. And then I said to Gary, what team should we do? And he was like, we should probably do Manchester City, Arsenal. And I was going to say to him, we do Arsenal all the time. But what we try to do is we try where we can to do the game with most goals. And it's been quite unfortunate for Arsenal because it has been them like kind of a few times. So I was like, oh, maybe we shouldn't do Arsenal. And I had a look, and unfortunately for them, they were the team that
pounded into oblivion.
I was just going to say them and Man City had the game with the most goals in. I was going to keep it nice. Do you want to hear the other thing, which you're going to hate? They've probably changed it by...
I'm numb now. Nothing hurts anymore.
Okay, we'll see. So, as you may all know, Arsenal are doing the Amazon documentary this season, the All or Nothing documentary. And right now, on IMDb, I'll have a look sooner rather than later, because it'll probably go at the moment. The current description for it is, in Amazon's third instalment of All or Nothing, we uncover the pathetic downfall of North London's second biggest club. No European football, no faith, just vibes. There's probably
Is that real? I thought that was just fake.
No, I looked at the IMDb. It's actually on IMDb. Look.
Oh my god! Wow, they're going hard. Why have they got someone, some urban kid to write the description? Because it doesn't sound.
It's an urban Tottenham fan, isn't it? Look, the thing is, I'll take this because Tottenham get burned by everyone. I think they got burned by Specsavers a few months ago. So like, I've been on the bad end of this. But go on, let's move on to the actual game.
Yeah. Well, Arsenal, woeful performance yet again. Every week is sort of a new rock bottom, but this must be new, like the rock bottom, right? Bottom of the league, 9 goals conceded, 0 goals scored. Looking like a team that has no idea what they're doing. That's the most worrying point. Playing players that they're trying to sell in this final week of the transfer window, which is pretty alarming. I think for Arsenal fans, it was a case of Okay, we're going to lose most probably, but can we show some guts and go down fighting in a way that gives us some dignity, right? And it's really impressive. It really is impressive how the Arsenal team on the day cannot even meet some very, very low expectations of some of the majority of Arsenal fans. But let's get this question out the way. 2-0 down, right? So we're down already, right? Xhaka is careering into, is it Cancelo? I think it might be Cancelo. 2 feet off the ground. Wasn't a two-footed challenge, right? It was one-footed challenge, but both his legs were off the ground and deemed serious foul play. Were there any contentions with the red card, in your opinion?
I think the way football is these days is and I'm not saying whether that's right or wrong. I'm not saying like, oh, back in the day it would have been like, it's not that situation at all. I'm just talking about like kind of looking at what football is these days. I think it's a red card. And I think the reason why, let's get this out of the way first. He makes very little contact with the
Yeah, it
man.
makes very, very, very little
Um,
contact. But
he doesn't actually like kind of make contact at all. So then we're not judging a tackle. We're judging like kind of the player's intent and like what he's done. Because you can't judge the contact because let's we could literally say there was nothing for the purposes of this. So I think the reason why is a red card is I think he's off the ground. I think he's coming in hard. Do you know what I mean? If he does get any bit of the player,
don't tell his wife that.
he's oh yeah. Sorry, I tried to get the innuendos to a minimum. Stop you getting excited. He's coming in quick. I can't say it now. You've put me on. He's moving at a quick speed. And if he does catch anyone, this is probably going to be like kind of quite a bad injury. He does go over the ball. I think it is a red card. I think it's a tough one, but it's just something I don't think you can do in today's game. It's one of them where if you don't start like kind of punishing tackles like that, then one of them's going to go wrong, and you're going to see another like kind of leg breaker. And I think I don't think Xhaka like kind of as well. He didn't get a player, but I don't think he hasn't. He's one of them players, isn't he? He's full of like kind of fighting spirit, and he's trying to get the ball. No, I know.
Fighting spirit or cowardice?
No. I feel for him. If I was the referee, I'd say to him, "Look, I know that wasn't your intention, but you can't go diving in like that. A few seconds, like a few millimeters left or right, and you could have seriously injured a player. And so I think it's a red card. But now,
whoa, you don't even want my opinion.
No, not really. Now go on, carry on.
Yeah, no doubt in my mind that it's a red card. It's on top of that, Xhaka has a bad reputation, right?
Doesn't help. But
he knows he has a bad reputation as well, right? Xhaka knows that he's Xhaka. So why on earth is he flying about 2 feet off the ground? Like, you're silly. I've always been an advocate for this. Like, I wanted dangerous tackles to be stamped out of the Premier League because there's no reason to do 2-footed challenges. I want to protect the players in the Premier League. I don't want it to be stupid like thug football. So I'm all for this being a red card, and despite there not being any contact, doesn't matter for me. It's the intent. It's serious foul play, and he should have been sent off. Absolutely. But go on. What was your question?
Well, because we spoke about the Pogba red card, so it's quite. And so Pogba did the challenge where he was studs up. He catches the shin pad. I actually think the shin pad does like 360.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Do you know? There is a difference between the tackles. They're very similar. Do you know what the main difference is? I think it's the pace at which the players are going.
And Mike Dean.
Okay, we're going to that, right? But we need to acknowledge the fact that they're not identical. They're very similar, but the main difference between the two tackles is that Pogba.
It was really quick. Whereas Xhaka, he's basically done a run up, and he's in midair for like a long time.
No, but what I mean, And what I mean is, like, kind of at the point of collision or like kind of potential collision, Pogba's not going that quick, whereas Xhaka's absolutely flying.
Yeah.
But my problem is, right, is if we're looking at Xhaka's tackle, right, and we're saying that he needs to be sent off for intent because of what's happened, like kind of where he's like kind of ended up and what could have happened if he carries on going in like that, if that's not punished. By that same reasoning, Pogba should be a red card too, in my opinion. Because
absolutely.
Same with Xhaka. I don't think he's meant it. I think he's just gone for the ball, and I think he's just gone over the ball. But whether, regardless or not, he has gone in and he's gone at shin level. Right? Pogba is he's a unit. If he comes in, he doesn't need to be going quick to be able to break your leg. And I think it's absolutely travesty. I have a question for you. Do you think the officials, after a game week or after a day, do you think they look do you think they review the big decisions that they made and been like,
they have to. If they don't, then they're just being lazy.
If they don't, it's like amateur hour. It's like, because surely, right, in my head, if they review, they would have looked at Xhaka's decision. They would have been like, that should have been a red card, or that shouldn't have been a red card. And then that would have made Pogba's decision really easy. I saw that the other day. That was a red card. Pogba's going a bit slower, but he's still coming in at the shin. It should probably be a red card.
Yeah, did Mike Dean even get a chance to see it? I don't think he did.
Mike Dean, no, I don't. VAR didn't review it. And this is why I get annoyed, because now we're talking about consistency. We've got very similar tackles. I would call them both dangerous tackles, right? And one of them was a red card. One of them wasn't even looked at. And do you know what? I haven't seen. So I meant to have a look, and I forgot. I'll be honest, I forgot. I meant to have a look to see what Ollie said after the game. Because this was
after his rugby
I just like, because if he didn't
he stayed quiet, I bet.
But if he didn't criticize that tackle, but he's criticizing Fernandes getting pushed, do you know what I mean? Or like kind of a little bit like kind of well, to be honest with you, all the Southampton player did to Fernandes last game week is he dirty winded him a bit hard. That's all he did. He come in like kind of he come in a bit hard. The innuendos are coming.
You were very passionate about this last week. Don't get passionate about this again.
But all I'm going to say is, if he hasn't come out and he hasn't said that that it's a tackle that should be looked at, but he's happy for Pogba's sort of tackles to happen, he's a hypocrite and he's full of shit. There you go.
Well said. Well, I mean, it's. I agree with what you say. I mean, like Paul Pogba, he didn't mean it. Of course, he didn't mean it. But you still have to have control over your actions in terms of your because you don't mean it, but you're still very high up the leg. I mean, he's gone for the ball, but you can't be showing studs up like that high, and that's still your control. So even though he didn't mean it, that's a dangerous tackle, and that should be stamped out of the game. So they should have reviewed that, and they should have, at least give him a yellow card.
Well, you can't review for a yellow card.
No, that's the ridiculous thing. And
we need to. I was going to say, like, I know you've got one more thing to say on it, right? So you get this out once I've done, because we need to move on from this, because we have spent a long time on this. But if you start punishing consistently tackles like that, right? Because it's always the same, where a player's gone for the ball and their foot's gone over the ball, right? If you start punishing them consistently, players will adapt. They will no longer do that. They will do different types of tackles. They will maybe like kind of use their body to block the ball a little bit, or use their legs to block the ball rather than getting a touch on the ball, right? But if you start punishing, players will adapt, and it won't slow down the game. It won't really change the game that much. But if you're going to be inconsistent with it, you're just asking for the next leg break to happen. Because what's Pogba learned from that? Nothing.
He just I've gotten away with it. That's what he cares about.
Not
all he cares about, but as in like he's gotten away with it,
but he has. Where really what it should have been is they should be looking back at that. We went down to 10 men here. We need to like kind of be a bit more careful in the future. You wanted to get one more last word in it. Go on, do you want to get your last word in, and then
I'm just saying that if they don't review it, it's not even a foul. Crazily enough, it's not even a foul. They go and score from it. So that totally, like, you're talking about the double punishment of Reece James getting the penalty and the red card. This was a double punishment for Wolves without having done anything wrong. They should have. Man United should have got a red card, and the goal shouldn't have stood. So it's decisions like this, unfortunately, have just a massive bearing on the game.
Do you know what? It's just to add a bit more fuel to the fire. I think a Manchester United player got injured earlier, and Pogba asked for the ball to be put out, which Wolves did. So, but you can't blame like it's not double jeopardy. It's just very much bad luck for Wolves. But let's move on, right? Because we're talking
in terms
about
of
Shaq.
impact on the game.
Yeah,
Is
we're talking
double
about Shaq.
jeopardy.
He should have been sent off. He should have been sent off.
Now, back to Arsenal then, and all their troubles again.
This, ladies and gentlemen, FYI, this was just him trying to avoid talking about Arsenal.
I did it for as long as possible. From Arsenal perspective, I don't know how much you can analyze the game because the defending was just so typically Arsenal that we've come to know in big games. Like we've seen it 1,000 times again. How can we analyze it 1,000 times again? The underlying problem is the scary thing was just how little Man City had to try to cause Arsenal any sort of damage. Right?
They didn't really have to come out of Gear 3, did they?
Gear 3? Gear 2, mate. They didn't, they passed it about and then they chipped it into the box. And yeah, so the goals conceded, they're sort of non-threatening crosses. And, somehow players like Torres and Gundogan, who are my height, right, which gives me faith, are out jumping our Arsenal central defenders. And that's the main worry for Arsenal fans is that we're not organized. Management from top to bottom has been terrible. Like from management from the top end, in terms of top management, how can you be starting with a defense that you've tried to ship, each one of them for the last 2 years, right? One of them in Kolasinac, who we've been trying to negotiate that he goes free to Fenerbahce. Recruitment, organization for the squad leading up to the season has been, frankly, terrible, right? I know there are market dynamics, but it ultimately comes down to Edu, right? And on the other hand, you have a manager who has been there for 2 years. By now, it's basically his team, where he has basically implemented his philosophy. It's his go at motivating the players. There needs to be a structure within the team, but the players, they all look like they have no idea what they're doing 2 years in, conceding silly chances, and they're not even creating much going forward, right? My question is, right, it's very unlikely that you sack both Mikel Arteta and Edu Gaspar at the same time. It might happen. Football's crazy. But if you had to pick one to leave right now, Edu or Mikel Arteta, who are you going with?
For me, I'll probably go with Arteta.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
I'll tell you why. So from my understanding, it's there's like kind of a transfer committee of Edu, Arteta, and there's another Arsenal guy.
Now there's another Arsenal guy in Richard Garlick. Richard Garlick. But it's probably Tim Lewis, who is a lawyer, I believe, who's the Kroenke's right-hand man. I think he works for Clifford Chance, knows nothing about football.
Well, essentially, you've got that transfer committee, right, where they decide the players, and then they go out and they get the players, and then Arteta does what he does what he can with those players. That transfer committee, right? Or what Edu's main job is to get the players, right? He's to kind of help identify the players and then get the players. So half of his job he's doing. Look at Arsenal's transfer spending this season. He's brought in Ben White. Mm-hmm. We won't look into at the moment. We won't look into who agreed, but he's brought in kind of Ben White. He's brought in Ramsdale. He's brought in that left back whose name I can picture, but if I tried to pronounce it, he would have knocked my door and he would have given me a wet willy for how bad I tried to pronounce it. And he's brought Odegaard back. Is there anyone else?
That sounds very non-threatening. I feel like you've done Tavares a bit dirty there. I'm sure he would physically damage you instead of give you a wet with.
No, but I haven't insulted him that bad. I just said I'm not sure how to pronounce your name. Do you know what I mean? So that's why he's I feel like the crime matches the punishment. Have you signed anyone else? Am I missing anyone? I feel like I might be missing someone.
Lokonga, we've signed.
Yes, right. So that's 5 players he signed, right? 1, 2, let's say 2 of them guaranteed first team players, right? And the other one's like kind of maybe younger players who might come into the team now, might take a little while bit. But I'd say Edu has done half his job there. He's signed the players, he's done his job. And then we look into who's making these decisions. Now, what's probably happened is probably a mixture between that transfer committee who are going, this is what's realistic, because that's what you have to take into account as well. Like kind of Arsenal, they have money, but they don't have like kind of Manchester City or Chelsea money. So they try to find realistic transfer targets.
They have to spread around the funds. They have to.
Exactly right, and that's why like kind of you remember you wanted Zaha and you couldn't get Zaha because they wanted money up front, and you ended up signing Pepe. But the only reason you did that is because whoever you signed Pepe from
every year for 5 years, basically,
they were happy to take it in a staggered amount. So you agree the transfers, and so I feel like whoever's agreeing these transfers, if they're not improving your side, that's the first one, and I feel like that's a little bit of Edu, and I feel like that's a little bit of Arteta. So that's what I'm saying. Edu's doing part of his job. I feel like Arteta isn't doing any of his job very well. I feel like if he's having input in the transfers, there's not many of them that have gone down well. And it's not like I don't get the vibe that it's like a West Ham situation. And what I mean by that is with West Ham is what you hear out of West Ham is, oh, that's a David Sullivan transfer, as in that's who the owner wants. Or it's a Moyes transfer. Do you know what I mean? In Arsenal, it always seems to be it's an agreed transfer, so everyone seems to be agreed before it goes hand. You never hear, oh, that's who Arteta wanted, and not like kind of, oh, that's who the owners wanted. You see what I mean?
Two signings that definitely Arteta wanted, and that's Aaron Ramsdale and Ben White, and he got that. Right?
You've not helped Arteta at all there. But what is it? Is his second pre-season now?
Second preseason,
fifth transfer window.
I think fifth. It might be fourth or fifth.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, he's not doing his job half as well than what Edu is, because Edu is going out and he's getting the players, and Arteta. Don't get me. If I was an Arsenal fan, it would be so frustrating because I've seen glimpses of like kind of Arsenal playing really good football, but it's just so inconsistent, and I feel like Arteta. Do you know what I think it is with Arteta? I think he is probably a fantastic coach, and that's probably where he should have stayed. Because it's such a gigantic leap from coach to manager, and it's just a different job. You need to be able to have that like kind of that different side. Let me give you an example. It's going to be controversial. Alex Ferguson. Like the rumor is he never picked up a training cone. Like I'm going to put it out there. Alex Ferguson was not a good coach, right?
No, he was an elite manager and motivator.
Yes, 100%. And he always got in the good guys. Like kind of remember that Rennie Malstein. I think he helped shape.
Yeah. He loved his players as well. Showed great love. I mean, Arteta, he loves players. And then he'll publicly dismiss them the next week. So it's kind of like I don't know what we really want from these players if you're gonna.
I think that's where Arteta lacks. I feel like I do believe he's a good coach. I do believe he probably does improve players, but I feel like his probably best situation. I don't think he's missing something as a manager because, I always compared him to Pochettino because Pochettino I feel like he's another person who's like kind of he's a good coach. And he's young, and like it was interesting to see if he could develop into a good manager. And Pochettino proved that he has that prowess. He's able to be a manager. He's able to like kind of manage egos. He's like to create a team and like kind of create a style and implement it. Whereas Arteta, he's proven he's a good coach. He proved that at City. The reviews he used, I mean, that's why Arsenal paid $2 million for like kind of Manchester City's assistant. But there's something missing in his managerial ability. There's something not there. There's something that. It's just not happening for him. And maybe he just doesn't have it. Maybe he just does not have what it takes to be a manager.
Yeah, I mean, the one criticism for Edu for me is that he hasn't organised the squad before the beginning of the season. There's still a lot of big holes in Arsenal's squad, which needs addressing. And, okay, he's bought the players, right? Fine. He still has central midfield and right back that he needs to absolutely address because we just can't function without he's also someone who signed off on Xhaka getting a new contract, right?
Yeah,
and
but
He's no, what? No,
Uh,
the buck stop was him. No,
wait,
you
wait.
can't say that
Wait, let me say this.
because
It's
no, because Mikel Arteta, he may well say, look, let's sign Granit Xhaka. It's Edu's job to be like, no, you're crazy. We can't move on until we get rid of Granit Xhaka, right?
let,
That's
let
his
me.
job.
Oh wait, I do get what you're saying, but all I was going to say was his Granit Xhaka's contract decision was not a footballing decision. It was totally a business decision. It was just, and I don't know where that would have stemmed from. I don't know who would have made that decision. But I tell you now, Granit
But
Xhaka's
that's
got a new
stupid.
contract.
Yeah, that is stupid because you can end up ruining the football, which ruins the business in the end.
Yeah, fair.
So, and then the other side of Edu is that he's unable to get any of the sales. Like, as bad as Raul Senlehi was in terms of pillaging Arsenal's bank account, he was very good at getting some sales in for the club. Edu hasn't done that at all. So we're basically paying players off, and not getting the transfer fees that we want for players. But I agree. I agree. Mikel Arteta, he's been in the job long enough. Like, the team just don't create chances. They don't score enough goals, and they concede crazy amount of chances. And at a whim, like the other team don't have to really do much to create these chances. And Arsenal is so frail. You would really want the team after 2 years to have real structure, real motivation, a real philosophy. And yeah, 2 years into it, and we're coming up with these absolute stinkers. I'd say Mikel Arteta probably just edges that. But it's so difficult because you've bought all these players for him, and just to sack him after 3 games is.
I'm. So your question wasn't who. Oh, I suppose it was who would I pick to leave right now. But I think if it was me,
You could
I
get
would.
another manager to do better with these bunch of players. Basically, Arsenal are not the greater sum of all their parts. They're lesser than all their parts at the moment.
Well, if it was me personally, if I was the person, if I was like kind of cronky and I was the one in charge of making decisions, I think I would. So I didn't think about Edu selling players. I would get Edu some help. Kind of get someone in who can help him, like kind of sell players if he can't do the job. Like kind of get someone in to help him because he's signing players, right? So he's doing part of his job well. That's potentially like kind of a divide and conquer job. The thing with Arteta, right, is Arsenal have chosen to back him by not sacking him last season. They've decided to back him, so you have to give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel until October, and I think see where he is in October. And if he hasn't improved by say there's an international break in October, right? If he hasn't improved by the October international break, I think that for me that'd be.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if he doesn't win against Norwich, he's a goner. No manager at a club like Arsenal can survive something like that.
I don't think it will be. I wouldn't hold your breath on that one. Just as I say, because Arsenal's
No,
made
but I
a.
mean that should be the case. That's what I'm saying. That should
Oh,
be the case. If he
maybe.
doesn't win against Norwich, he absolutely has to go. Um, Enough Arsenal talk. I'm numb from talking about Arsenal and
We
watching
have gone
Arsenal.
long as well.
Yeah, we've gone very long.
Goal of the
Arsenal
week.
is a pain in the ass. But yes, goal of the week. We pick our best goal of the week that we think deserves the title of the best goal. And who have you got, Alex? Who you go for? You go first.
So Aston Villa, obviously, they want our coveted goal of the week award.
Last week, yeah.
Well, and the week before, I think, right?
I went for the Danny Ings bicycle kick.
No, the week before that, I think I
Oh,
gave it
and
to an Aston Villa player.
I gave it to the Watford player.
Well, yeah. Either way, I feel like Aston Villa really want to win our award. I feel like they, if you guys don't know, you've made it this far in. Now we're an hour in. All the Aston Villa players watch this video. But Buendia did his best to get up there. It was probably a close second.
Yeah, very good goal. Very, very good goal.
But for me, I think Fornals. I think it was just. It was a very silky smooth team goal, and it's just one of them where it's just like it's very nice on the eyes. So I think Fornals for me.
I mean, we're not making it too exciting because I've got Fornals as well. But it's probably that's what everyone can agree on. That is a great goal because if both of us agree on it, it's definitely going to win it. So yeah, I thought it was a hilarious goal. You know why? Because when I was watching it, when I was Antonio, they basically faked me out twice. Because I thought each time they were going to shoot, but they just faked each other out. Both dummied the shot, and between the two of them, completely bamboozled the Crystal Palace defense along with the goalkeeper and slotted it home. So, yeah, but real quickly with West Ham, should have won that game. I feel right. Created loads of
Yeah.
good chances, but slipped up defensively. Twice. In the second goal, they conceded right after scoring that lovely goal from Antonio, who is absolutely on an absolute tear. I don't think they will complain with 7 points out of 9. Absolutely not. But they are having a great time. But do you think games like this, like West Ham, absolutely need to win because there's more expectations for them this season? They are not a surprise team anymore. They're a good team in their own right. If they want to get the lofty prize of Champions League football, or at least maintain the European status, they have to dispatch teams like Crystal Palace at home? Or
Yeah.
are they the darlings of the Premier League still?
No, I think people will be wary of West Ham this season. I feel like especially how they've started well, and I do get what you mean. They do need to win the games like Crystal Palace at home, but the thing is they've left it late, but they are finally starting to make signings to improve their starting 11. They brought in Zuma the other day, who will probably go straight in, and I think he'll instantly improve that defense. A few of the Crystal Palace goals were like kind of a little bit comical, like kind of defending from West Ham. I feel like he'll improve. He'll improve the defense. They're signing, I think it's like Vlasic or something like that. I think from CSK Moscow. He's a striker. I think he's a striker, but he's like kind of a good young player. He'll come in probably as backup for Antonio, who seems to have found his position. Which I have to say is such a brilliant story for Antonio because I think when he first came to West Ham, he was like kind of a bit of a winger, and then he played up right back for some time. I think he's literally played all over the show, but I think he's actually found his position up front.
Yeah, Reed needs to get more England caps because he started getting caps early, but then there's just absolutely couldn't get into the England team.
No, he's I think he switched now. I think he switched to Jamaica.
Oh, okay, I see.
So I think it's typical, isn't it? By the way, that as soon as like kind of he finds his position and he kind of gets confidence with it, he's like, yeah, well, fuck you guys, I'm gonna go to play for Jamaica. But I don't blame him, right? He never had he didn't have much of a sniff. At all.
But yeah, West Ham, I feel like I don't know. I feel like they should be under more expectations. Teams are going to plan against them. They can't let games like Crystal Palace at home. They can't let that slip. They could have been perfect 9 for 9, and they'll be competing with Tottenham right at the top of the league. And you can't underestimate very good starts to the Premier League. That extra 2 points might be absolutely vital for them by the end of the season. Last season they went on a great run, but they just fell short right at the end. And the frustrating thing about West Ham last season was that just a couple more points, and you would have been in there. But so that gives me the same anxiety for West Ham fans. So because you want them to do well because of the way they play football, the attacking style, entertaining. But yeah, this is a slip up. This is a bit of too much of a slip up. So I hope they get their ducks in order and go and pick up way more points.
Yeah, I think what we're probably seeing is probably like they've been punished for like kind of leaving it late with their transfer business. I think they're now like working to get deals done. I think they're starting to get deals over the line. So hopefully getting these like kind of new players in will fix some of the issues that they saw against Crystal Palace. But especially as now they've got the Europa League, it's going to get very congested for them very quickly.
Yeah. So there you go. 4 hours. Rubber stamped goal of the week from Alex and I, who is your goal of the week winner. And that's it. We've gone super long.
An hour and 5 minutes.
Yes. Give us a like, give us a subscribe if you made it this far. Do you agree with any of our opinions? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you after the international break.
Yeah, see you guys soon.
See ya.